Welcome back. Well, we are doing some more shopping today. This is all part of a Bedford trip that I did a couple of weeks ago because as I film this, we are pretty much snowed in. I wouldn't say we are snowed in, but there's snow outside. And some people are fine with the concept of snow. Most of the people around here, not so much. So, it's a good thing I did a big shopping last time I was at Bedford. All right, when we come back, we are going to get So before we get into the shopping, let me just quickly say, Greg, our funny man who kept our spirits up all throughout lockdown with his joke of the day, I mentioned he was ill, and he has just completed his second round of chemotherapy. He's lost all his hair. I told him hair is overrated, it's like, really, like, honestly, in the global scheme of things, so what? But he's doing very well, and I guess it's just cross your fingers and hope for the best time. But a lot of you have been asking, and I wanted to give you that update. So the update is good news. All right, before we do the Bedford shopping, I don't know if I've ever shown you this before. One day when I was outside Bedford, I just grabbed my camera and took some photographs of their windows. And yes, Audie, and these are just, the regular windows. Their building had been a dress factory, and I'm pretty sure it had been a church at some point in there too. But many of the windows on the first floor are boarded, because, of course, it's a business now. And they have some really interesting artwork on the boarded windows. So it's not like you're looking at boarded windows. And I grabbed some pictures and put together a little Bedford slideshow because I thought I'd like to share those images with you. It was just a really creative way of dealing with the fact that when you have a business that used to be another type of facility, yeah, sometimes you're stuck with boarded up windows, and they made the most of it. So let's take a look at that first. I thought that was just so creative. Really nice images. I've never asked them, who came in and did the work for them. Obviously, it must be some local artist. Not bad. And it's something nice to look at on the side of their building. All right, so let's get inside the antique mall and see what we came up with. And the first piece in this particular set of stuff is, as I'm sure you've already guessed, from Paul. So let's take a look. This beautiful sort of pale teal blue, or I'm trying to think of what color that is. Maybe it's actually a green. heavily gilded. All right. Well, it's under fluorescent lights, so let me take this over. Fluorescent lights make blues and greens look very odd, but I don't think there's much that could make this chocolate pot look odd. Look at this. Heavily gilded. It's not extremely old. Vintage, but not old. And best of all, $8. So, thank you, Paul. Well, in the video, I called that a chocolate pot. It's not. It's a coffee pot. And I also said that it was sort of turquoise. Well, I would really have to say it's a sort of pale aqua. And I get into a lot of trouble when I try to look at those light blue-green colors. It's not that I'm colorblind. It's just that there are so many of them. Aqua, turquoise, aquamarine, light teal, light blue, light green. Who knows? But I'm calling this pale aqua. Very heavily gilded piece. Really nice. Usually, when I find pieces, especially where the handle is fully gilded, you see wear because you pick it up by the handle. So, yes, thank you for the tail in my face. So you see the wear on the handles. Nice condition on this one. And, of course, the price was right. So, stuffed that in my bag, and then I moved across the aisle to another of Paul's cubbies, booths, alcoves. Yeah, I know. Thank you. He's making a mess of me, and I think he's a little jealous that he's not the focus of my attention. So, next up, another one of Paul's cubbies. Over here, we have a very pretty pair of enamel on metal vases. They're marked Cloisonne, but I haven't actually checked. And they have little tiny vase stands. So, $5 a piece, 2 for $10. I'm going to think about it. This also is $5. Beautiful enameled on metal. This is a matchbox holder. And this was actually a thing at one point. These little oval openings are so that you could access the little bit of striking paper that was on the edges of the matchboxes. Again, cigarette, pipe, cigar accessories are in this whole category, and they are collectible. There are people who just go for that. So I'm going to think about this because I just barely got through to Paul's booth and Paul's booths. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff to go through. So we're going to think about this and probably come back. So those little vases were Cloisonne pieces. And I had mentioned that when I was filming and never bothered to explain what Cloisonne was. And I know a lot of you know this, so go grab a cup of coffee. Cloisonne is a particular kind of enamel work on metal. And it's incredibly old. We're talking like 3,000 years. What they did was they would take a metal piece. Originally, it was small pieces. It was pieces like jewelry, all right, Audie, I'm going to put you down in a second. Jewelry, they say that a lot of sword hilts were Cloisonne, because they didn't have the technology to work on larger pieces, because we're talking 3,000 years ago. Take a metal piece, and then you would take a metal wire and pound it flat, so it was more like a very thin, tiny metal band. If you steal my light again, you're in big trouble. And they would solder it to the metal object they were decorating and solder it in a design, and then they would fill that design with color. And the metal band kept the color from oozing into other parts of the design. The reason I'm referring to it as color is because it wasn't originally paint. Originally, it would be like gemstones or something else, and the band would hold it in place. Then, as time progressed, and of course gemstones are very valuable, people tended to find ways to produce the same results with less expensive material. So that's when they would use pigment. And they would take the enamel, work it into like a paste, and shove it in, almost like shoving, cupcake batter in a cupcake mold, that sort of thing, and then fire it. And you could do all kinds of things. You could make some very interesting, intricate designs. And as the technology progressed, as we got closer to modern times, which means like 2,000 years ago instead of 3,000 years ago, they were able to do this with larger objects. So it wasn't just jewelry. They could make plates, they could make cups, they could make little vases like that. And eventually, when we got into the Dark Ages, 6th, 7th, 8th century in Europe, and we're moving along the timeline, not too quickly, it eventually gave way to a similar type of metalwork called champlevé. And champlevé was similar, but again, less expensive and a little easier to produce. They would take a metal item and carve areas into the metal and then fill those areas with the enamel. So they didn't have to put the little wires on. They would simply carve out their design and leave a little band of metal to keep the pigment in place. And Cloisonne, that's Cloisonne in Europe. It was always huge in Asia. And that champlevé technique is a European modernization, cheaper way to get the same effect, just as enamel was a cheaper way to get the same effect that the earlier artisans got by using precious stones. So that's sort of 25 cents worth of Cloisonne information, so that when you talk about it, you know what it is. Now, how you spot Cloisonne is when you see a metal piece and the enamel work is outlined in metal, usually gold for fine jewelry, but a lot of modern Cloisonne pieces, it's brass instead. So it still has that sort of gold look to it, but you'll see that fine outline in metal with the enameled colors being separated by that metal banding. It's still produced. A lot of it comes from the Middle East and South Asia today, just modern Cloisonne. Very beautiful. It's not something I've ever been particularly into, in terms of collecting it or keeping it for myself. It's I'm not a real big jewelry person to begin with. I imagine, surely you must have noticed, I hardly ever even bother to change my earrings. Jewelry's not my thing. Some of the pieces are just remarkably beautiful, and you can find Cloisonne jewelry, if this is something you're into, that is hundreds of years old. So, if you find Cloisonne pieces, if they look really old, treat them with caution and consider getting a jeweler to take a look at them, because this art form has been around for so very long that it can often be hard to tell the difference between a piece that is, for example, 100 years old or 300 years old. And obviously, from a resale point of view, that's an important thing to know. So, anyway, I thought you'd enjoy seeing a little bit of Cloisonne and the little matchbox cover. You just slip your little matchbox in there. It's a whole area of collecting. It's called Tabacciana, coming from tobacco, but they double the C, so it has a CH. No, they double the C in tobacco too, don't they? It's the I coming after it that gives it the CH sound. So Tabacciana, which is this whole area of tobacco products, collectibles, and people are into that, you know, even if they're not into using tobacco, if they are not tobacco users themselves. It's just this very broad collecting area. And if you go to Etsy or eBay and you have an item like that, they will have a category that you can list it in. So, and that usually tells you that it's a hot collectible if the online auction sites have a specific category for it. So, there we go. 50 cents worth of Cloisonne and 10 cents worth of Tabacciana. Next up, I just found some really nice little Asian plates. Okay, Paul's booth again. We've got a stack of 4 plates for $14. I pulled this one out so that you could see the pattern without having to look at the price tag. Made in Japan, beautiful Asian print pattern, design, picture. There we go. We're going to default to picture. And as I've mentioned before, I get a lot of requests for Asian tidbit trays and blue tidbit trays. So I'm seeing a home for these already. Now, that particular set of plates is probably about a salad plate size, between 7 and 8 inches. Saucers are usually between 5 and 6 inches, and they have a depression in the center. So if you run your finger across it, if you're sighted, boy, you can see it right away. For me, I got to use my fingers. I have to braille read that saucer. There's a little depression where the cup goes in, and it keeps the cup from sliding out of the saucer. Bread and butter plates are supposedly a little larger than saucers, but these are general sizes. So different china sets will have, some will have 5-inch saucers, some will have 6-inch saucers. I have seen saucers as large as 6.5 inches. I don't think I've ever seen anything going up to 7. So I think about the max I've seen is 6.5. The smallest is around 4 or 4.5. And then you have your bread and butter plate, because your salad plate, the generic salad plate size is 8 inches. Your bread and butter plate would be in that sort of 6 to 7 inch range, which is, you know, that's the saucer diameter too. So the plates that I picked up for starters were probably salad plates. Very nice Japan plates, blue and white. I know I've mentioned this many times. I get a lot of requests for blue and white tidbit trays. And so I'm grabbing plates to meet that demand at this point. And those were just really nice. I love blue and white Asian china. I really do. Doesn't matter if it's from Japan or China. Those pieces are just so pretty. And they usually have very involved little scenes on them with pagodas and trees and bridges, and occasionally, the ladies with their fans and la-la. Great pieces. So, went back into the same booth and rutted around a little more in there and came up with even more plates. Here we go. Well, I found a stack of saucers, or actually, I'm not feeling a cup depression in this, so they're not saucers. They're simply smaller plates, probably bread and butter plates. Again, made in Japan, different import company, so they are not a part of a set with those larger plates that I just grabbed. $14 for 4 of them again. Gee, you gotta know, I'm seeing a lot of work with that Dremel coming up, because I am seeing Tidbit trays. So these plates were saucer sized at around 6 inches, but they were probably bread and butter plates because they didn't have that saucer depression in there. Not the same pattern as the salad plates I had grabbed minutes earlier, but a very nice, very similar, very complimentary design. Now, those were from Paul, all of those saucers. So they were $14 for 4 of them, which was a little over $3 a plate. Nice price. When I go after plates for my Tidbit trays, sure, I love when I can grab them for $1. But the truth is, I will very often go much higher because, well, obviously I'm going to put some work into it, and I want it to be a nice piece. I want people to like it, so I will get more expensive plates. In general, I try to keep the plates I use on my Tidbit trays below $5. It's not always possible. Sometimes you just see this gorgeous plate and it's like, oh, I gotta have that. But I thought overall, at $3 and change, and I was able to grab 8 plates, I thought that was a good deal, very satisfied with it. And I'm still not exactly sure. It's like I don't have a picture in my head yet of what the Tidbit trays are going to look like, because I will probably add little toppers to them, make it a little more interesting, see what I can come up with in the blue and white range. But popular colors, and those are really nice plates. Additionally, because I've been grabbing blue and white plates when I see them, I can mix that with Flow Blue, which is not necessarily Asian patterns, or some of the other Asian plates that I do have that are, well, I was going to say in different Asian patterns. I have one that looks like it was some sort of Grecian temple. It's definitely not Asian, and I think I have 2 or 3 plates in that design. It was made in Japan, but the Japanese did not just produce Asian china. When they produced china, they took patterns and designs from all over the place, and some of the most beautiful Nippon pieces I have ever seen. It's like you look at them and say, oh, I bet that's Bavarian. No. So they had no problem borrowing from the West when they were looking for designs. All right. Next up, and this is a really interesting little set. Okay, still with Paul. This is typical of the comical mid-century salt and pepper shakers that came in from Japan. And it reads, "You and your once more for old time's sake," and Grandma is, well, she got the bun in the oven here, and Grandpa just looks concerned. $5, I think, definitely they are coming home with me because they are funny, they are quirky, and they are typical of a whole genre of little comical Japanese knickknacks that were on the market back in the mid-century. Yes, those comical little salt and pepper shakers were hugely popular. Um, Pregnant grandma, I don't know what to say about that. I'm sure somebody's going to get a kick out of it. But it was all kinds of things. I have some Occupied Japan salt and pepper shakers. I gotta clean those up and stick them in my Etsy shop that are frogs smoking pipes. Like, okay. They just came up with comical images, and those things sold. People loved them. They were inexpensive. They could be given as joke presents. And frankly, the workmanship is so good. The colors are wonderful. The paintings, it's so well executed that, you look at something like that and say, how in the world was this being sold at Grant's or Woolworths or Kresge or whatever? We had those stores for you young people. That was our version of Walmart. The 5 and 10 cent stores. How could they have sold them for sometimes as little as 15 cents a set? I've actually seen some beautiful salt and pepper shakers that had the original prices on them of like 15 cents. It's like, wow. When you consider the workmanship, no wonder we were buying them up like they were going right out of style. So anyway, that was just a little set, and at $5, yeah, I'm going to throw that in my Etsy shop. And, some grandma out there is probably going to buy it and give grandpa some ideas. Who knows? But beautifully executed. And they're funny. They're comical. They put a smile on your face. And that's one of the things that I really like about a lot of the Japanese pieces that came into this country in the mid-century. They didn't take themselves too seriously, and we don't need to take them too seriously either. Okay, so we'll just wrap it up here because I don't want it. Last time I was getting close to 40 minutes, I think. We're going to wrap it up here and hope we don't go too far over time. I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow is Project Sunday. I'm not sure what we're going to do. I'll have to give it some thought. I may not be able to do a project because, frankly, snow. And the snow means an inability to get out and do shopping for little things I may need. On the other hand, who knows? We'll see what I can come up with. All right. Have a really great day. And I think we are just going to go out with pictures that our viewers have sent in. And by the way, if you like these little slideshows and you have your own pictures of your cat, your dog, your grandpa, who knows, who cares, the grandkids, whatever, let me know in the comments because these pictures all come from you. So if you like it, participate. Send me some pictures. Turn it into a slideshow, and you'll get to see your own kitty or puppy or whatever. Just a wonderful outdoor scene. All right, have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow.